Okay, welcome to Brownswood Nursery. This is our palm section and our plant identification knowledge base. And so this is the Chinese fan palm. It's got a really beautiful glossy green foliage. One of the identifiers of this particular palm is it has these very sharp little points all the way down. And you're usually going to see a little bit of this red, bark down below. So they do burn in the winter. They can reach heights anywhere from 6 to 8 foot generally, and we like to use them in mass, so 3 to 5 in a grouping, and generally in the backyard because they do burn in the winter. When we have cold weather, you cut the fronds back, new ones shoot out. They can take a lot of shade as well. So this is not evergreen, but it's close. Like I said, it does burn in the winter, so you're going to get a little bit of brown foliage. In terms of sun conditions, it can take full sun to almost deep shade. This is the Pindo Palm, also called jelly palm or cocos palm. And it has these fronds that are a little bit, has some kind of brown and fuzziness. And then they have an elongated arch, and then the branches come off of that. Or at least the frond leaves. And then you can tell that it is a trunk-based palm, so it's not a shrub-form palm. And in terms of sun condition, this wants full to part sun, but the more sun the better. And it's going to reach heights of anywhere between 13 to 18 foot. And it is evergreen, so it is a cold hardy palm, and is really nice to be used as an anchor point on a corner of a yard, a corner of a pool. It gives a great tropical effect. It does produce fruit, so if you don't like some mess, you may want to think about a different palm, but the fruit is edible, which is why it's called the jelly palm. This is the Sago Palm. It is actually not a palm, it's a cycad. We do call it a palm though. And one of the main identifiers for this is you're going to have this, what we call the pineapple. So this trunk, you can see the old last year's fronds. This is not a cold hardy in terms of evergreen palm. It generally won't die from the winter, but you do see brown foliage. So the fronds are going to turn brown. You're going to have to cut them off all the way around. The new fronds will come out of the center. And the Sago Palm usually is used in a space where you want something in the 4 to 6 foot range, although it can get much larger over time. And that tends to be what happened. People put it in a spot where they think it'll look cute for a while. 10 years down the road, it's 7, 8 foot high and too big. So another note is it is poisonous, particularly the female, which has the seeds in it. Dogs and things can eat the seeds, and they have had cases of them dying. So that's the Sago Palm or Sago cycad. In terms of sun condition, it'll grow in full sun to part sun. It'll take some shade, but it does better in full to part sun. So this is a larger sago to give you a better feel. The way you can tell the difference between a male and a female is that the male will actually have a very long vertical penis-like structure, and the female will have a large egg sac that has all of the seeds in them. So neither of these are setting any kind of fruit or ability for us to kind of tell, but I would think this is probably a male here. But when they do come up, it's clear which one's a male and which one's a female. So a good time of year to actually cut all the fronds off once there's been some browning or just irregular growth is the first part of spring, after all the frost is gone, and you can cut all the fronds off at the base where the pineapple is, all the way around. So that way when your new fronds come out of the top and lay down, you have a symmetrical plant instead of a messy one. And you're going to get some pups, little babies that grow, little side shoots off of the pineapple. You'll see little new ones kind of growing off to the side. We like to cut those off so that the plant doesn't continue to get larger and larger and larger and outgrow its space, and it begins to get kind of messy as well. You can also try to replant those to propagate more. Welcome to the Windmill Palm. So the Windmill Palm is distinct because it has a very fuzzy trunk. So you can see all the fuzz all up and down this trunk, and then the fronds do come out kind of out of the side. They start out of the center and then they lay down. So this is a cold hardy palm. This is going to reach anywhere between 8 and 15 feet, 8 and 12 foot. But it's great because it's very narrow in terms of the trunk, and the head itself is usually only about 5 to 6 foot wide. So great on the corner of a house or near a structure. In terms of sun condition, full to part sun. It could take a little more shade, but really would prefer full to part. This is the European fan palm, and it's a shrub form palm. So this is going to reach heights of anywhere between 5 to 7 foot high, about 5 to 6 foot wide. And unlike the windmill palm, which we just talked about, this is a shrub form. It is not a tree form, which means you're going to have multiple shoots coming out of the sides here. So you have multiple little points of growth. It's evergreen, it's cold hardy, which is great, and it's going to prefer full to part sun. And it could do some shade, but the more shade it gets, the thinner it's going to get. And this is great to use as one centerpiece, for example, in front of a staircase, or as an accent with some other tall Sable Palmettos, which we're going to look at in a second. Or to have 3 to 5 of them in a mass. They look great together in a mass, but it gives a great shrub form effect in a palm. This is the Sabal Palmetto. This is the South Carolina state tree, and you can see them in different ways. For example, you can notice that this bark is smooth, and then this bark still has the old fronds that were cut left on it. And you can get them in both ways, where they're fully what we call booted, or they're half booted. And these particular ones I think are about 1/3 of a boot. And so that's from the top down is about 1/3 of the overall height of the palm. And then you have this beautiful big head. Sable palmettos can grow in almost any sun condition, full sun to almost deep shade. But what's great about them is, again, their narrow footprint in the landscape. They take up literally, 18 inches, 20 inches at the base, depending on the size of the palm. But the heads are, again, not super large, probably somewhere between 8 to 12 foot in diameter as they continue to flush out and are in the ground for a few years. And they're generally hurricane cut, which means that all the fronds are initially cut off of the palm. So all these fronds are cut off so that when they're transplanted, they don't fall over with the wind or with the hurricane. And it also helps with the root development so that the plants, the trees are able to survive in their new home. Another interesting thing about the Sable Palmetto is the growth rate. When you purchase a Sable Palmetto, you want to get one at approximately the height you want it to be, because once they're in this size, 12 to 18 foot, they only grow 1 or 2 inches per year. So 10 years is 10 inches. So you're not going to get a tree that's going to expand a lot vertically for you. You want to get the plant, the tree that you want from the beginning. And going back to the Pindo Palm, this is a larger version, so you can kind of see what the Pindo Palm is going to do as it gets bigger. You're going to see a thicker, fuller trunk, which is going to continue to rise up. And again, this is a tree form palm, so it is going to reach heights of 15 to 17 plus foot. This is the silver saw. There's a silver saw and there's a green saw, and I'll show you real quickly. This is the green saw in a 3 gallon. This is the silver saw in a 3 gallon. So you can kind of see the different colorings, and I'll show you them together. And this is a larger one. The silver saw can reach heights of anywhere between 6 and 8 foot, 6 and 9 foot even over time, but it has a great silver foliage, full to part sun. It will take a decent amount of shade as well, but I think you're going to get the best color in a full to part sun environment. And you can see it does have some fuzziness on the trunk as well. So you can get down in here and see that. And it does have fewer of the spikes. I don't know if you can see off of this. There are some little tiny little teeth on there. See if I can zoom in for you. So anyway, I'm sorry you can't see that, but there are some little tiny teeth on the frond itself. But unlike the European fan palm and some of the others, which have very large spikes. This is a great plant to use in a native environment. And it's also a great plant to use if you want a bunch of something to fill in a space. And it is evergreen, so you're going to see some yellowing, just like in all palms are going to cycle through some of their old fronds. You just cut those off. And another note on palms, you want to make sure that you don't remove the old fronds too soon, because palms translocate nutrients, which means they suck the life out of the old fronds to feed the new ones. So if you're cutting the fronds off too soon, you're almost defertilizing the palm. This is the Sable Miner palm. So it is the little brother to the Sabal Palmetto. So that's the Sable, which is fully booted, by the way, which we talked about earlier. And this is the Sable Miner, which is a short version, can reach heights of 1 to 5 foot, depending on the environment and how old it is. It is evergreen. It's a great shrub form palm, and has not much in terms of disease and insects. I think it could get some stuff, but not very much. It's a great little shrub palm. And in terms of sun, it can really do sun or shade, either. This is the Kunti Palm, which I'm not exactly sure about its mature height and width, but it is being used to replace the Sago cycad because of the cycad scale. But it can be a little tender. In terms of height, though, I would guess in the 3 to 6 foot range, and probably wants full to part sun. And but is a really neat looking little palm. So this is the Washingtonian palm. Some people call it the Mexican palm. And what's distinct about this one, of course, is you're going to have the really lime green, glossy green foliage, the fronds, but you're also going to get this really pretty red coloring on the bark. It is spiked, so you can see the spikes along here. And again, you're going to get this really red kind of foliage, and the trunk is going to be relatively narrow, so it is again a tree form palm. And you can see, used in this particular landscape, we have a silver saw palm as a front kind of tier, and then we go up to the Washingtonian palm. It does burn in the winter, so again a backyard palm for designs, in my opinion, and but does grow very rapidly, so you have to be careful where you put it, how many you plant, because they can grow very quickly. And they can get very high, I think between like 30 and 40, even 50 feet sometimes. All right, so we got a nice little smorgasbord of palms. This is the Windmill Palm. This is just a recently pruned European palm, and this is a European fan palm. This is the Sable Palmetto, so you can kind of see them together. And then way off in the corner over there, I'll slide so you can see it, is the Pindo Palm. So we'll move that way so you can kind of see the Pindo Palm through everything. So that's the Pindo Palm, what it's going to do over time. It looks so good, I think, by the side of the pool. So again, we have the Sabal Palmetto up top over here, and the silver saw palm here. So you can see how we tier the palms, and they really do look great together, tiered. It's important, though, that you do have something grounding these large trunks, because particularly with the Sable Palmetto, you can get a bunch of those and just look like a bunch of telephone poles, particularly if they are not fully booted. So it's good to have something grounding them and softening them at a lower level. Another option would be sweetgrass or breezegrass. And again, this is a more mature example of the Windmill Palm. You can see all the fuzzies up and down the trunk, and then the heads at the top. So here's an example of a mature sago, and you can see we have it flanking on both sides of this particular entrance. And as it's continuing, the trunk is going to continue to grow up. You can see all the brown kind of damaged fronds. And so when we get into the spring, all those fronds are really going to be cut off, because palms don't have the ability to heal themselves. So they will always be damaged forever. So the best thing is to cut all the fronds off at the first part of spring, let the new fronds come out of the top and lay down, and then you have a symmetrical, clean sago palm. But you can see already this is starting to get to the outer edge of this space, and so you want to be thoughtful about where you're putting the sago.